Prof, if I may bring this back to you as regards the Constitution, if one is, in quote, breaching the Constitution as it is, and not following it through, what should be done to such an individual? That should be prison sentence, if you ask.
I think we have to go back to basics. What you and I call the Constitution was Decree 24 of 1999. General Abdul Salam might have had good intentions, but organizing 25 men to write a constitution for Nigeria, which started masquerading as a product of a consensus that we, the people, we never met anywhere nor endorsed that particular artifice. That is why the patriots, God bless them, stated that that constitution was tragically flawed because it told a lie against itself. And since then, we've been amending, patching, and we've discussed ad nauseam the necessity for a new constitution. Yes. I happen to have been a member of the confab in 2014, and there was a lot of debate, heavy weather, on the necessity to fashion a new constitution. We even had a new draft constitution, which we propose will be subjected to a referendum. And if 50 plus 1 of the electorate votes in favor of that constitution, then what Kingsley is saying about legitimacy will have been settled. We have an illegitimate instrument being passed off as the Constitution of Nigeria. And all the holes, all the gaps, all the foibles that we have identified in the Constitution, we have to confront. So that Constitution is illegitimate. I agree with him entirely. But for now, like he said, it's the extant law. So, and fidelity to law is a tenet, it's a basic tenet of democracy. He was citing Marbury and Madison. The American Chief Justice in 1803 had declared that America shall be a government of laws and not a government of men. As I said, we are still very juvenile in terms of our political development. In fact, we just say we are Democrats, we are trying to operate democracy without Democrats. These people are self-seekers and self-servers.
Well, still staying on that constitution, because, I mean, different lawyers, they have different opinion about what the interpretation of this section 50 and C of the process of removing a Senate president. So, Prof, could you tell us, what does this really mean, the requirement to remove a Senate president?
No, I think it's an obvious fact that you need 2/3 majority of the Senate to remove the president of Senate. What some are saying is that it's 2/3 of those who are present who are sitting in the assembly at that point in time. So if one way or another you succeed in sequestering some senators, then you can remove the president without the 73 required. But what we are hearing is that the 73 majority can be procured. You see, in Nigeria, never say never. Nothing is impossible. You can organize a scenario where signatures are collected for a fee. And then they pass the resolution, and that's the end of Bukola Saraki. Saraki, for me, I said before that it was damaged goods. Because of his antecedents. It's a big surprise that he became president of Senate. And you remember the way and manner he became president. If there is a consensus among senators, if there is honor among thieves, then they might say, thus far no further. We need a new leadership. And clinging to office, for me, does not reflect honor or propriety. The Yorubas have a word for it, omoluabi. Somebody that is well born, well brought up, should know when to quit The type of thing we expect of our politicians is not venal opportunism. When things are getting rotten, then decent people will quit and say, I've had my 3 years is enough, you've made your impact, you no longer command the majority of the Senate, what are you still doing there?
That seems to be the bone of contention now, because now they've given reasons, the leadership of the Senate, in terms of why they were not able to resume. But then we hear comments too, coming from the ruling party, that this is, I think they call it high treason, not reconvening the Senate. Is that the case from the point of law?
No, that would be carrying the good joke too far. This political brinkmanship.
Exactly.
You say it's not treason.
Yeah.
It's political contestation
Antics.
for who should direct the affairs in Senate. Treason? I mean, that words will have lost their meaning if you put treason. Then almost everybody in the Senate will one day or another be accused of treasonable felony. And treason is a very serious indictment, you know, in law. You don't play with treason. So quite sincerely, although I know that in the United States, people are talking about treasonable conduct at very high quarters in terms of what is happening right now in the United States of America. But I will not go to the extent of describing not convening of the Senate as a treasonable act. The extant president of Senate is playing the game because he believes he has to convene Senate because, like my late colleague Yadesola Akonde used to say, whoever appoints can always disappoint. So it's the man who prorogued, so to speak, Senate that can reconvene Senate. And if he refuses, some people I hear are going to court to get an order of mandamus.
To compel them to...
Yes, but I said that would be outrageous. The court should not interfere in the affairs of the Senate. Some people have already gone to court to protect the president of the Senate from being removed.
The courts
they are making a mockery.
busy this period.
They are making a mockery of you.